Picture this, you walk into home after a grueling day at work, and after a few minutes, you're in total relaxation mode. No, it's not a fantasy, and it could be your reality. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how. If you're new to the channel, my name is Bennett Schwartz, and I'm a high-performance coach working with people in both their personal and their professional lives. If you're looking to live a richer life, make sure to hit the subscribe and the like button. Any parent knows that coming home after a long day of work is probably some of the hardest things you have to do. The kids are jumping all over the place, there's homework that needs to get done, and after all that, we're exhausted. So how are we supposed to step into our day to take advantage of the things that are really important to us? Family is very forgiving, and that's why so many people can take advantage of those times. But let's try to use this time to step up our game and to step up our relationships. And if we do that, we're going to be showing how we can actually start to live our priorities as opposed to just talk about them. So in today's video, I'm going to give you 5 tips that you can use before you step foot into the house. The first tip we need to understand is, are you the type of person who really gets stressed out about these things? Yeah, of course there are those unicorns who are totally excited to be home, maybe because they just don't like work so much. But if you're the type of person who knows that you're going to get stressed out, and you know that that's really a hard time for you, we need to pre-frame ourselves before we get into the house. And what I mean by that is, I just need you to pause a minute or two before you really look to open the door. So many times people park their car, take their briefcase, and just walk inside their house, and they are not getting themselves ready before whatever it is they need to be doing. You see, successful entrepreneurs actually do this throughout their days when they're about to step into an important situation. So if it's before getting onto an important sales call, they're gonna frame themselves to become that person who needs to close this deal. So the same thing should apply to our families. If we know that our families are important to us, we need to come in with the right mindset to be able to frame ourselves before we get into our house. And it really only takes a minute or so. You see, all you have to do is just take a break and start to think, who is the person that I need to show up as behind the door? And then also, who does my family need me to show up? Because although we had an exhausting day, our spouse could also be exhausted, and our kids could have gone through things throughout their day. And our job as a parent is to show up the way they need us to show up. So framing before you step into the house could be a great way just to put things into perspective. The second tip is to realize that sometimes you're going to be so exhausted that you're going to need help. And Brene Brown talks about this idea how with her husband, she always tells him what level she's at in terms of energy levels. So therefore, her husband can really help her out. Sometimes we're just so exhausted, sometimes we're so done that we just don't have any energy and we really need help from our spouse. If we can start to communicate that, then we'll be able to move forward. It one time happened to a client of mine who just got the word that he got fired from his job. His wife knew that she needed to step up and take more of a role. And because he communicated that with her, she was able to step up into it and was able to just give him more break. We also have to understand that our spouse might come in with less energy too, and it's our job to be there to support them as well. The third tip is understanding what our expectations really are. You see, if we know that when we come home, it's usually dinner time and there's just a mess everywhere, it's mayhem, things are getting spilled on the floor, and we expect things to be perfect, we're going to be frustrated and upset. Not to say that we should have a low standard in terms of our house and how it's run, but to understand what's really going on there. And if we could start to realize that once I walk through the door, a noodle is going to get thrown at my face, then you're going to be prepared and you won't be as upset when things are going on. We need to try to set ourselves up personally in terms of the expectation that is going to be happening, and then also speak to our spouse to see how it is we want things to be run. If it will be more beneficial for you to show up better, if dinner was delayed or maybe it was earlier a couple of minutes, make sure to communicate that with your spouse. But if we have the right expectations going into it, if we know what to expect, then of course we're going to be able to step up into it a lot better. The fourth tip is understanding where your energy levels are. You see, sometimes we come into the house and we're excited and things are going totally fine. On the other hand, sometimes we're just so drained, whether it was we didn't get sleep the night before, or we had a big project, or something happened at work, and our energy levels are low. So we have to really take an audit about ourselves to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to be doing. So therefore, I'm a big fan of eating something before we come home. Because for me, if I know that I'm going to be tired and exhausted and hungry before I get home, there's a lot less chance for me to really be able to show for my family. So whether it's taking a 5-minute cat nap or whether it's taking a little bar in your car, just so you can start to eat something before you get into the house, it's going to be able to give you that energy to show up the way you need to be showing up. Make sure to audit yourself and ask yourself, what is something small that I can do that can really help me out? And maybe it's just texting your wife saying, hey, I need another 5 minutes so I can show up better. because most of the time that's when arguments and fights really happen between spouses, because that is a very stressful time. If you can audit yourself and say, these are the things I might need on certain days to be able to show up better, then your spouse is going to want to be able to be there for you because they know that it's going to be beneficial to them as well. The fifth and final tip is to understand why you're doing this in the first place. I know it might sound silly, but to recognize that so many people are not clear on their why. They signed up for being a parent. They wanted to be able to help out. They wanted to show up and show that their family is a priority. They might even be telling themselves that they're working all day for their families. And yet, how can they be so rude to say that I'm coming home and start to do all these things that are annoying to me? But we need to recognize, what is it that we're supposed to be doing? How is it that we can step up? How can we show that our families are a priority, but understand it and recognize that? Because if we can realize why it is we're doing this in the first place, we're going to be able to have a lot more leeway in terms of what is going on. We take the pressure off of ourselves and we can start to move forward in the things that we're looking to do. We're only going to be more successful in this relationship that we're trying to build. Family is an incredible priority, but too many people put it on the back burner and they're trying to fix too many things that were so able to be fixed earlier. It's our job as the parent, as the adult, to show up the way that our kids need us to show up, to help them grow to become the people that they need to be. And imagine if your kids could watch you show up with such energy, such excitement when you come home. Imagine what that's going to do for their lives, their own personal growth, and then when they're put in a situation, when they're the parent of the household, and how they're going to show up for their kids. If you get any value from this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And if you want even more value, make sure to take a look at this next video.